morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. And today, oh, ladies and gentlemen, have I got an absolutely beautiful pair of new cards to show you today. Now, it is actually a new Crobat card, but it's not really a new Crobat card. It is a new pair of Golbat and Crobat. When I do videos about new cards, as long as they're decent cards, I do like to give them a bit of space, give them their own video, etc. But these are, firstly, they're in the same evolution line. And secondly, you really cannot separate these out. This Golbat and Crobat, yeah, they go together nicely. And also, while we're here, we had Crobat G back in the day, which was amazing. We had the Crobat from Phantom Forces. Yeah, it was Phantom Forces. That was amazing. And of course, Crobat V is an amazing staple in like every, or at least the vast majority of decks right now. Every deck, as soon as we go and hit September in the rotation. What did Crobat do to be so loved? I don't know. Now, Crobat here and Golbat, we do need to look at them as a pair. We'll start off having a quick look at Crobat. Translations from the lovely Antoine Boulet, as I'm sure by now you probably would have guessed. And if we have a look at Crobat, who is obviously the main Pokemon here, we have got 130 HP, which is quite nice. It's just out of range of those Pokemon that do 120. There are a bunch out there, so that's quite nice. You've got Free Retreat, which is absolutely phenomenal. This is largely a support Pokemon, so that's kind of amazing. And it also means that you're not going to be dragged in the active with boss's orders. But it means that if you have something KO'd, like you're going to have a Crobat sitting on the bench in support, and then if you get something KO'd, you've got a free retreat at a whack active while you go through your next turn. That is kind of awesome. Weakness to fighting, not ideal because of stuff like Crobat V, because of stuff like Pikachu and Zekrom that share the weakness, so there are going to be some fighting Pokemon running around. As for being a Darkness Pokemon, it means you fit nicely into an Eternatus deck, more on that in a moment, and it means that you can use Black Market Prism Star, so if you've got a Darkness Energy attached, you're not going to give up a prize, although you should almost never have a Darkness Energy attached to this. Now, if we start off with the ability, we actually need to go to Golbat here. Golbat, unfortunately, does not have free retreat, and 80 HP is meh. No one really cares. However, it's got a really awesome ability. Stealthy Draw. When you play this card from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may draw 2 cards. Yes. Absolutely love that. Now, when I first saw the Golbat and Crobat, I got flashbacks when I'm still not great at reading these cards, unfortunately, but I got flashbacks to the Phantom Forces one, and I saw the 2 on it, and I was like, oh, maybe when you evolve into it, you drop 2 damage counters. Well, no, you draw 2 cards. Now, there is an obvious counter-argument to this being great, and we're going to address this properly as we go along, but the obvious counter-argument is, well, hang on a second, Wassy. We just got a Stage 1 Manectric. And the Stage 1 Manectric, when you evolve into it, you draw 3 cards. So how can you get excited about a Golbat that's a Stage 1 that draws you 2 cards when you evolve into it, when we got a Stage 1 that draws 3 cards when you evolve into it, and not for nothing, but Manectric has free retreat as a Stage 1, whereas Golbat has to evolve up into the Stage 2 to get that free retreat. And it's completely fair to say that, and the answer is because we're not stopping at Golbat. If you put Golbat and Manectric side by side, then yes, obviously Manectric is better. It would be kind of dumb to try and argue anything else. But the fact of the matter is, we're not just putting Golbat and Manectric side by side, because we've got Crobat. And by now, you've probably guessed what Crobat does. It's got the ability Wealthy Draw. Love the rhyming going on there. When you play this card from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may draw 3 cards. Oh, well, that's quite nice. And again, we can put this side by side with Manectric and go, well, Manectric's a Stage 1 that draws 3 cards, and Crobat's a Stage 2 that draws 3 cards. Clearly, Manectric is better, and again, I can't really argue against that. That is an entirely fair point. But the key point is, we're not comparing Golbat to Manectric. We're not comparing Crobat to Manectric. We are comparing the pair of them as a pair to Manectric. And when you put both of them up against Manectric, things get a whole bunch better. Because at this stage, we need to remind ourselves that Scoop Up Net is a thing. Scoop Up Net is an item card that lets you pick up one of your non-GX, non-V Pokemon and put it into your hand. Now, when we had the old Golbat and Crobat, Golbat dropped 2 damage counters, Crobat dropped 3, we would play it with Super Scoop Up, similar kind of thing, but on a coin flip. And if you could flip heads, you would get both of the abilities in one go. So what you would essentially do is you would have a Zubat and a Golbat on the bench. You would flip heads on Super Scoop Up, and the Zubat would evolve into a Golbat and drop 2 damage counters. The Golbat would evolve into a Crobat, and you would drop 3 damage counters, and then you would bench another Zubat, ready to go around again and again. And that's what you can do here. It's not about, yay, I've evolved into Golbat, draw 2 cards, although that is a thing. And it's not just about, hey, I've evolved into Crobat, I get to draw 3 cards, although again, that is still very much a thing. It is about the, I've drawn a Super Scoop Up, and now I'm going to draw 5 cards. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a whole bunch different. That is what makes this better than Manectric. I think it's easy to look at this and go, yeah, it's not as good as Manectric. And I've already told you why, objectively, neither Golbat nor Crobat is as good as Manectric. And I don't think there's much of an argument here that either of them are as good as Manectric. But we're not looking at either of them. We are looking at the pair of them. And when you put the pair of them together, it's awesome. It is the I'm evolving up and drawing 2 cards this turn. And then I'm going to draw 3 cards next turn. And then hopefully I'm going to play a Scoop Up Net and draw 5 cards. That's why this is so good. It's not about the turn you draw 2 cards. And it's not about the turn you draw 3 cards. It's about the pair of turns where you draw 2 one turn, and then you draw 3 the next. It's about when you've got a Zubat and a Golbat on the bench, and you've got a Crobat, which just drew you 3 cards, and a Golbat that just drew you 2, and then just playing the Scoop Up Net alone goes and draws you 5 cards. That is what is so gosh darn good about this. That's why I think some people, and I've already seen a bunch of people saying, it's not as good as Manectric, and they're people whose opinions I respect. But in this instance, I respectfully disagree. I think the pair of these together are just over the top awesome. And I think what we're going to see is a whole bunch of non-GX, non-V decks here that are going to be able to take advantage of this and make really quite consistent decks because they can play around with these. But it's not every deck. And I'm not going to pretend to you that it is every deck. There are certain decks that are not going to use this. Essentially, if you're going to be playing this line, you need to be playing Scoop Up Net. And you need to be playing some kind of other Pokemon search. So maybe Great Ball. Honestly, you're far better off with Pokemon Communication here. Clearly, if you're playing a deck that only plays Quick Ball, this is not going to be an evolution line for you. If you're playing something like Arceus and Alga and Palkia with Zacian V, this is not going to be for you. Because you're not going to be playing the cards that you need. But how about something like Eternatus V Max? Eternatus V Max needs to have a full bench of Darkness Pokemon so that it can do the maximum amount of damage. It can have up to 8 bench Pokemon, as long as they're all Darkness, and it does 30 damage for 2 energy for each Darkness Pokemon you have in play. So here, you play this. You're already going to be playing some kind of card which helps you search out your Eternatus V Max. And you're already going to be playing Scoop Up Net because you're going to be playing Galarian Zigzagoon. And that means that this is going to fit in there very nicely. And yeah, fine. you can make a great argument here that, well, you know, do they really want to play a Stage 2? And the answer is yes. As someone who's played a whole bunch of Eternatus lately, I do want to play a Stage 2. Because remember, it's not about the Stage 2. The Stage 1 is good. It just so happens that the Stage 1 gets so much better when you bring in the Stage 2. If I'm playing a single prize deck where my main draw engine is based around Jirachi, I am going to want to find space for a 2-2-2 Crobat line. Honestly, 3-3-2 would be better, but it all depends on how much space you can pop in your deck. And maybe you're not going to be able to find the space. But the thing is, if you compare this to something like Chinchino, who is clearly another single prize Pokemon you're going to consider in these kind of decks, Chinchino gets you 2 cards, and it's 2 cards every turn. But you don't get those turns where you play Super Scoop Up and then draw 5 cards. I think as a draw engine this is huge, and I've already seen some of the opinions out there. Some people like me are saying this is phenomenal. Some people are saying it's overrated and it's not going to see a huge amount of play and it's not as good as Manectric. It's one of those things where, to put it quite obviously, time will tell, but I really do think this is phenomenal, which is why I've been gushing about it for so long. But I'm not actually done. Because you see, Crobat's got a really nice attack here. For just 2 colourless energy, you do 100 damage. And that might sound fairly uninspiring, but this is a point where I remind you that Oricorio sees a huge amount of play right now, is weak to darkness, and has less than 200 HP. So you can pay this attack cost with either a twin energy or a triple acceleration energy, and then you're getting a one-hit KO on Oricorio, which is kind of huge. I mean, you're also getting stuff like the aforementioned Galarian Zigzagoon, like the aforementioned Jirachi, etc. So you'll get a bunch of single prize Pokemon, but things that are weak, like Oricorio, you will be getting a KO on here, and that is awesome. We should also mention Golbat's attack here. Now, Golbat's attack doesn't look like very much on the face of it. It is Air Slash, 50 damage, discard an energy from this Pokemon. But you see, we got a tool a little while ago, Flying EMZ. Air Slash came out in Unified Minds, most people have forgotten about it. But it's a tool that you attach to a Pokemon that has the attack Air Slash, Golbat, and then for 4 energy you gain a GX attack that does 180 damage and makes you immune to everything the following turn. And the thing is that Dawnwing's Necrozma had this as its GX attack, pretty much exactly this, and it saw a bunch of play. And it's worth pointing out with Dawnwing's Necrozma, that was one of those GX attacks that only worked if you were behind on prizes. This, you don't have to be behind on prizes, so you actually get an attack which gives you full-on immunity from everything on your Stage 1 Golbat, which is also drawing you cards. And incidentally, this is the point where we're really starting to pull away from Manectric. Yes, we've got the extra drawing, etc., but when you build in the really useful attack on Crobat, and then you build in that Golbat can have this GX attack, okay, it's 4 energy, it's quite expensive, but you get a KO on something like a Crobat V while getting immunity the following turn. That seems absolutely worth it. And even Zubat here has got a useful attack. 1 colourless energy, switch to your bench. Okay, fine, it's not particularly good, and I ain't going to pretend it is. But it's turn 1, you're going second. You really don't want to leave your Zubat in the active to get KO'd. Attach an energy, switch to the bench. So yes, I am absolutely in love with the drawing here. I think the drawing is brilliant, and I think there are going to be multiple decks that are absolutely made by the drawing. But it's also Crobat's attack, and the fact that Golbat can use Flying EMZ, and the fact that it fits so nicely into an Eternatus V Max deck that makes me look at this and go, why would I play it over Manectric? And then makes me go, here's a gigantic list of reasons. I do think this is one of those, I would say card, but it's really an evolution line, which is going to really impact the metagame. I could be wrong, Could be that nobody ends up playing it because it's too awkward. But if everyone was playing the old Crobat with Super Scoop Up, why am I not playing this with Scoop Up Net? I think this is phenomenal. And by now you've probably realised that these are 5 Wassy cards. I'm not scoring them individually, just go for the whole line. You probably saw that coming. I don't think I hid my emotions very well. I am in love with these cards, but it's time for me to stop gushing about them in the video, and you to start gushing about them in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.